I was cruising through the back pasture in my grandfather's rebuilt 1951 Ford, freshly tuned, the engine purring like a big old house cat when I slammed the brakes so hard the front tires kicked up a wave of dry prairie dust. What brought me to a full stop wasn't a coyote or a wayward fence post. No, it was something far stranger. Towering above my windbreak, blinking and humming like it belonged in some sci-fi flick, was a 15-foot metal skeleton planted into the earth like a proud monument. Zip-tied to one of its supports was a plastic placard stamped with a sticker that made my stomach drop. It read, "Neighborhood Signal Booster installed in cooperation with Horizon View HOA." And that was a problem. Because I hadn't signed a damn thing. I wasn't part of any HOA. And that windbreak? That wasn't just some decorative line of trees. It was the border of our legacy. The boundary of Mitchell land. And they had just crossed it. Let me paint you a picture before I go full rancher gone rogue. This isn't some freshly paved cul-de-sac lined with vinyl-sided clones and astroturf lawns. This is grit, grass, and generations. My family's owned this patch of high prairie land since before the state lines were drawn straight. While most families pass down photo albums and brooches, we pass down land deeds and oil-stained survey maps. The kind of paperwork that makes city attorneys sweat and federal inspectors tread real carefully. So when I found that tower bolted into my windbreak trees planted by my great-grandfather during the Dust Bowl to keep the soil from blowing away like fog, I knew something bigger was at play. Especially considering what those trees shield. Behind those pines and cedars are the old utility bunkers, the emergency water tank, and a vault buried so deep and so discreet that my grandfather once told me, "Don't open that lid unless you hear sirens and can't tell what country they're coming from." Now that vault had a tower blinking on top of it like a damn Christmas ornament. I drove straight to the house, tore into the filing cabinet, and pulled the manila envelope labeled "Emergency Use Only." Not because I thought the world was ending, but because every time that windbreak gets touched, a fuse seems to light. Inside were 4 things: a dusty USB stick, a faded hand-drawn map, a redacted federal document with more blackouts than ink, and an old photo of my grandfather shaking hands with a man in a trench coat next to freshly poured concrete, the same kind of base I'd just seen under that tower. I didn't even bother calling ahead. I drove straight to the HOA office. It sat on the edge of the neighboring development, a boxy faux ranch-style house with fake brick siding and a plastic eagle nailed over the door like it was guarding democracy. And there she was, right on the porch. Patricia Langley, president of the Horizon View HOA, a self-declared neighborhood strategist and part-time menace with the world's most smug clipboard. Wyatt, she greeted me with a forced nod, acting like she was the queen bestowing royal Wi-Fi to the peasants. Isn't it exciting? We're bringing high-speed connectivity to the broader rural community. You put it on my land, I said. Oh, it's within the shared buffer, she chirped. You know, underutilized space for neighborhood enhancement. It's just trees, after all. I felt my jaw clench. Those just trees were planted by my great-grandfather. And they're on privately deeded land. Patricia's tone never faltered. According to our agreement with Signal Point Technologies, we have authority to place infrastructure on parcels adjacent to the HOA boundary. I'm not in your HOA. You're adjacent, she said with that same syrupy voice people use on toddlers or pets. I didn't argue. I turned and left, heart thudding, mind already ticking through the implications. That vault. That line. They triggered it. Later that night, I called my cousin, Leah. She's a land use attorney out of Denver, specializes in private property protections and chewing up overreaching HOA presidents for breakfast. I sent her pictures of the tower. She asked 3 questions. The third one made my stomach drop. Did they drill into the cap? Yes, I replied. Silence. Then, Wyatt, that cap's sealed under sovereign infrastructure protocol. They didn't just break a law. They made it federal. Sleep didn't come easy that night. By dawn, I was walking the windbreak, boots crunching over dry grass. The place that always felt safe, silent, sacred buzzed now with the low hum of trespass. The soil was disturbed near the vault, the bolts on the hatch shiny. I'd been gone for 2 weeks cleaning up flood debris near the lower creek. In that time, someone got bold. And stupid. I called Leah again. Told her it was time. Trigger the clause, she said. The one in your granddad's will. The automatic federal review for unauthorized access. She also told me to head to the barn and retrieve the red envelope hidden behind the old grain bins. Don't open it, she said. Wait for the agents. Agents? I asked. You'll see. I didn't make it to the barn. Instead, I noticed movement near the tower. Two men in safety vests, no HOA badges. One saw me, startled, dropped a tool, then climbed down fast. The logo on their truck? Not telecom. Federal. A plain white pickup with a quiet decal, U.S. Department of Interior. I leaned against the barn, watching. They weren't acting like contractors. No idle chatter. No coffees. They were measuring, tapping the soil near the hatch with long rods, inspecting every angle like they were uncovering something ancient. I approached slow. Morning, I offered. Morning, one said, stepping forward. He was older, calm. Wyatt Monroe? I nodded. He showed me his ID. Agent Calloway. You're listed as custodian of Monroe Land Holdings. Yeah, I didn't file anything. You didn't have to. The system auto-triggers if the cap's breached. Tied to legacy infrastructure protocols. I just blinked at him. He continued. It's rare. Most people don't even know what's buried under their own land. But your family did. They built this place right. He explained that if the aquifer line had been damaged, they'd need to activate containment. If it was just the hatch, they'd proceed with legal action. What about the HOA? Calloway's expression hardened. We'll handle them. Later that day, Patricia returned, flanked by two of her loyal board members, armed with folders and false confidence. She marched up my gravel drive like she was delivering salvation. We've received complaints, she said, about unauthorized federal activity. You mean the agents? I said, deadpan. Yeah. That's because you drilled into a sovereign vault. You nationalized your HOA. Her smile faltered. We acted within our authority. Funny, I said, arms folded. According to the Department of Interior, that tower's on federally protected infrastructure. One of the board members, some guy who always wore golf visors indoors, blurted out. What the hell is an aquifer protection zone? Patricia shot him a death glare. She turned back to me. You should have attended the vote. There was no vote, I said. You forged it. That's not democracy. That's fraud. She didn't reply, just walked off. But I saw her hand tremble. By sunset, yellow tape cordoned off the windbreak. Federal contractors set up sensors. The cap had been breached just enough to trigger a contamination protocol. The best part? The cost of the investigation fell on the party that initiated the unauthorized modification. Translation: the HOA. Leah called that night, giddy. Their utility clause wasn't even enforceable without adjacent landowner signatures. Guess whose signature they never got? They don't just owe you damages, she said. They owe the federal government an explanation and a whole hell of a lot of money. I stood on the porch, staring at that blinking tower, thinking of my grandfather. He'd warned me. He didn't just build the vault. He built a defense system, and Karen, or Patricia rather, had tripped it. Then came the kicker. A rep from Signal Point called, trying to apologize and negotiate. But when I asked who filed the install permit, his voice dropped. We were approached by the HOA, he said, but the paperwork came from a third party. Name on file is L. Murdoch. My blood ran cold. Lawrence Murdoch. County Zoning Liaison. The same guy who tried to reclassify half this valley 3 years ago behind our backs. This wasn't just overreach. It was a plan. I went to the county clerk the next morning. Donna, the woman at the desk, handed me the printout with a sad smile. The permit was manually overridden by Murdoch himself. He filed it under buffer zone reclassification using forged HOA jurisdiction claims. This was never approved by the council, Donna whispered. Back at the ranch, I gave the paperwork to Calloway. He wasn't surprised. Murdoch's tried this before, he said. Skipped environmental reviews, lied about access. Got slapped down hard. Looks like he's at it again, just sneakier. That same afternoon, Leah emailed me a breakdown of the tower hardware. This isn't a booster, she wrote. It's a relay hub. Encrypted routing. Secondary receivers. Possibly surveillance. One line chilled me to the core. They didn't want your land. They wanted access. It all clicked. My land sits on the highest point for miles. That tower had a perfect view. Line of sight for anything digital. They were hiding it under the guise of Wi-Fi. But it was never about the neighborhood. It was about control. That night, I found tire tracks by the back fence. Not feds. Not mine. Someone had come back. A black SUV. Engine still warm. Footprints in the dirt. Sneaker, not boots. Someone was scouting. I took photos, sent them to Leah and Callaway. By morning, the SUV was gone. And the HOA? They sent out a community email trying to spin it all. Minor land misunderstanding. Local heroism. Preserving neighborhood harmony. I almost laughed. Then Callaway showed up again. This time with a folder. Inside were receipts, wire transfers, satellite data, and a payment trail from Murdoch's office to a Nevada-based shell company directly linked to Patricia Langley. It wasn't incompetence. It was collusion. That HOA meeting later that week? Let's just say it didn't go as planned. Federal agents in suits sat quietly in the back as Patricia began her usual speech. Then one stood, showed a badge, asked to speak with her. She went pale. Murdoch arrived moments later, stormed in like he could fix it. He couldn't. By that evening, both were under federal investigation. And I opened the red envelope. Inside was a notarized clause from my grandfather's trust. If the vault was ever tampered with illegally, ownership of adjacent land including HOA property would revert to the trust until resolved. The clubhouse, the wine lawn, the whole neighborhood anchor? Mine now. The notice went up 48 hours later. Operations suspended. Patricia was charged. Murdoch faced even worse. The tower came down piece by piece. And the windbreak? Still standing, untouched. Sometimes I stand out there now, listening to the trees. When the wind shifts just right, I swear I hear my grandfather's voice in the leaves. Build it strong, Wyatt, and let them come. They did. And now they know. You don't mess with legacy. Not out here.